When maintaining your daily wellness rituals is important to you, the change in routine during the summer can feel daunting. Kachava's new travel packs help you stick to your daily ritual, even when you're on the go. Just one packet of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake provides complete nutrition with 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and much more. So you'll be fueled and ready for wherever life or your summer adventures take you. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. But you can try it for yourself because the variety pack includes all 6 delicious fan favorites: chocolate, vanilla, chai, matcha, coconut acai, and strawberry. So instead of worrying about sticking to your daily ritual, simplify it with Kachava. Go to Kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends. We're going to be chatting it up with Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. We're going to be chatting with him about what we've all seen out of the AL West in general this year. He does a pre- and post-game hosting for the Seattle Mariners, so I have to certainly talk about them, their shaky start to the season, the fact that Cal Raleigh is now on the injured list. Is there perhaps some upside, though, with Bryce Miller returning, and what can we expect from them this weekend against the Padres, and just the next few weeks in general. Also just asked about the American League in general, who's had a lot of struggling teams right now. And then in the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters ZM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. Boy, oh boy, did we have a fun day of baseball on Thursday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Brewers keep rolling. They take down the Slam Diego Padres by a count of 7-1. They got slammed by the fact that Griffin Canning got 5 outs and he gave up 6 runs, all of which were earned as he walked 4. Not great there. From there, Ron Metanaccio, 2 1/3 innings, gives up 1 run. Yuki Matsui, 2 scoreless innings. Matt Waldron, 2 shutout innings as well, but by then the damage had been done, and for the Padres, 0-9 with men in scoring position, 10 men left on base. Kyle Harrison, 5 scoreless innings out of him. The alternative, Paul, Grant Anderson, both give you a scoreless inning, and how about this? He's now got a 1.59 ERA. Brian Fitzpatrick, 2 scoreless innings, so he's been solid for the Brewers recently. What else was solid was the pitching of the Minnesota Twins, 9-1. They take down the Miami Marlins. Zebby Matthews, in his first start of the season, very good here. 7 shutout innings. From there, Kendry Rojas, he goes for 2 innings, gives up a run. For Braxton Garrett, first start of the season was not great. He got 4 outs, and he gave up 5 runs, all of which were earned. From there, the bullpen was actually quite solid. Calvin Fauché, 5 outs out of the bullpen. Squirrels, Lake Bakar, Anthony Bender, they both provide 2 innings apiece of shutout baseball. John King, from there, does give up 3 runs in the 8th inning, but still, they were able to do a solid job there, but the damage, it had already been done, and doing a lot of damage to their record is the Houston Astros at 17-28 right now. The Seattle Mariners, we'll talk about them more in the next segment, 1 game below 500 now. They take down the Astros by a count of 8-3. Luis Castillo gives up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings, was taken deep by Yordan Alvarez, 14th home run season, but from there, Nick Davila was able to give you 4 outs out of the bullpen. Squirrels, 2 shutout innings from Domingo Gonzalez, who they're going to be looking to with some bullpen injuries, and Mike Burrows got burrowed up in this game. 7 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings, taken deep by Mitch Garver, his first home run as a Seattle Mariner, and then Luke Raley does not go off the Raley's 10th home run of the campaign. Cody Bolton from there, pretty solid in long relief, 1 run allowed in 3 1/3 innings, but way too little, way too late. Hey, the Mets won a series. 9-4, they take down the Detroit Tigers. Noel McLean was, not clean early on. He gives up 3 runs in the first inning, but from there he goes for 6 additional shutout innings, so he gives up 3 runs over the course of 7 innings, was taken deep in this one by the former Cub Gage Workman, his second home run of the campaign. A little bit later on, Tobias Myers gives up a home run to Dylan Dingler, 8th home run of the campaign. Myers gives up that home run in his inning of work. Craig Kimbrell, scoreless inning, and Kadir Montero, more like Kadir Montero Bull, gives up a pair of home runs, 4 2/3 innings. He allows 4 runs, all of which were earned, as he was taken deep in this one by Brett Beatty, his second home run of the season. Then A.J. Ewing, his first home run as a MLB member, and he's been looking very good for the Mets here since his call-up. Tyler Holden, he gives up a pair of runs in a third of an inning, and he was taken deep as well, as Mark Vientos gets his 6th home run of the campaign. Ricky Vanasco, he also gives up a home run in this one. Marcus Semien gets his 3rd home run of the campaign, and Juan Soto, home run Mambo number 5, as he goes deep on Brendan Hennepy. He goes for an inning, gives up a run, that solo home run, and then Emmanuel De Jesus, he gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning as well. Being able to get on the winning track, the Cincinnati Reds, they were on to a 15-1 win over the Washington Nationals. Believe that they had lost 9 out of their last 11 prior to this one, and they had themselves a home run fest, as well as you had a home run number 2 of the season for Dave Myers, a pair of home runs for J.D. Bleday, home runs number 5 and 6 of the season, and then you had Matt McLean get his 4th of the campaign. Foster Griffin gives up a pair of those. 9 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Zach Kent gives up a home run, 2 runs in total in 2 2/3 innings, and then Joey Weimer, the position player, he gave up 4 runs in his inning of work, as Myers got the home run off of him, and Chase Burns was superb. 6 shutout innings out of him. Sam Mull, Lewis May, they both give you a inning out of the bullpen. May does give up a run in an inning, and then Connor Phillips, he goes for a scoreless inning as well. So nice clean win for the Cincinnati Reds. Good day in general for the NL Central, as the St. Louis Cardinals, they were able to get a W of their own, 5-4 against the Athletics. They are in full control of this game, up by a count of 3-1 going into the 7th inning, and then the A's were able to strike for a 3 spot, as Michael McGreevy gives up a home run over the course of his 6 innings of work, taken deep by Nick Kurtz, 7th home run of the season. And then Ryan Stanek, who's been awful in this bullpen, gives up 2 runs in a third of an inning, taken deep by Zach Aloff, 5th home run season. Jojo Romero gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning, but Matt Savanson, Riley O'Brien, they both give you a scoreless inning, and Jacob Lopez, 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, given up over the course of his 5 innings of work. Jordan Walker, 12th home run season. Victor Scott, great Scott, his 2nd home run season. From their bullpen was looking solid. Mark Leiter Jr., Justin Cerner, Scott Barlow all lend a scoreless inning, and then Jack Perkins tried to close out the game. Gives up a pair in the 9th inning with the Cardinals down a run in 2/3 of an inning. Joe Kuhnel gets it out of the bullpen scoreless, but the Cardinals now 25-18 as they get that win. The Pirates were able to get a win as well, 7-2. They were able to take down the Colorado Rockies. Carmen Bolzinski had a pair of openers in front of him. Mason Montgomery, Evan Sisk, they both give you a shutout inning. Bolzinski gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, Dennis Santana, you don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez. We're not messing with, both give you a scoreless inning. Chase Dollander has to leave after 1 inning, did not look like himself, gives up a home run to Ryan O'Hearn, 7th home run in the campaign, gives up 3 runs in total. From there, it becomes essentially a bullpen game, as Tanner Gordon actually saved quite a bit of the bullpen. He gives up 1 run in 4 innings. Victor Vodnik, Brendan Bernardino, they both came in, combined for 2 innings between the two of them, gave up 3 runs. Juan Mejia was able to give you a scoreless inning, but Pirates, they were able to get their offense online, and they got a nice win there. For the Chicago Cubs, they salvaged their series against the Atlanta Braves with a 2-0 win on Thursday, as it was a very nice performance in this one from Ben Brown. It wasn't a lot of length, but 7 punch-outs, 1 hit allowed, and 4 shutout innings. And then from there, the bullpen does their part. Phil Matone, Jacob Webb, Daniel Palencia all ended scoreless inning. Holby Milner, 2 scoreless innings, and Ian Happ, he was out Apples. His 10th home run in the campaign, that comes off of Reynaldo Lopez, who gives up that home run in 1 2/3 innings of work. Chris Sale takes a loss, but man, that's just rough for him. 1 unearned run given up in 6 innings. Ha-Sung Kim had a throwing error that costed him that run, so he was fine. Aaron Bummer, not a bummer, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels, but simply put, nothing doing for the Atlanta Braves on this day. Happens to the best of them, as the Braves entered in this day number 1 in the league in terms of run creation. For the Phillies, they stick it to Ranger Suarez, 3-1. They take down the Red Sox. Suarez does his part, 5 1/3 innings scoreless. This game was delayed a little bit by rain, by the way. Justin Slayton from there, a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Garrett Whitlock a scoreless inning, but Tyler Semenaijo has actually been really good out of this bullpen. 2 runs allowed in a third of an inning. Kyle Schwarber, a Schwarb bomb, his 18th home run of the season. From there, Zach Kelly gives up an unearned run in 2/3 of an inning. Trevor Story had a fielding error that hurt him. You had a scoreless inning out of Ryan Watson, and Jesus Luzardo, he's been doing for a lot of positivity, and he finally had himself a nice start. 6 shutout innings. From there, Brad Keller was able to give you a scoreless inning. Jose Alvarado gives up a run in an inning, but Yohan Duran, he strikes out the side in the 9th inning. So the Red Sox now 18-25. Been rough for them. Been rough for the Kansas City Royals away from them. 6-15 on the road. The White Sox are above 500. 6-2. They take down the Royals. Anthony Kay was okay, giving up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. From there, Sean Newcomb, 2 shutout innings. Tyler Davis, he was able to give you a scoreless inning, and Chris with K. Bubich did not get a lot of Ks in this one. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings was taken deep by Randall Grichuk, who's actually looked pretty solid here for the White Sox. 3rd home run of the campaign. Lou Indra Avila, 2 scoreless innings. Alex Lang, a scoreless inning, and Lucas Ursic gives up a run in an inning. But for the Royals, 8 men left on base. They are averaging fewer than 3.1 runs per game away from home, so not been great for them. And for the Dodgers, it's been a little bit wobbly for them recently, but they do persevere against the San Francisco Giants by a count of 5-2. Pair of home runs in this one. Will Smith gets jiggy with it off of Landon Roop, his 4th of the campaign. Roop gives up 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Emmett Sheehan gives up 2 runs in 6 innings on the flip side for the Dodgers. Jong-Ho Lee, an inside the park home run, so it traveled 225 feet as Teoscar Hernandez, I believe it was, couldn't field the ball, his 3rd of the campaign. From there, the Dodgers were very rock solid there. Edgar Enriquez, along with Alex Vesia, Tanner Scott, all in a scoreless inning, and Matt Gage does give up a run in the 3rd of an inning on the flip side for the Giants, but from there, Ryan Barucki, 4 outside the bullpen, scoreless. JT Brubaker, he was able to supply a scoreless inning as well, so that's a game that stays under the total. And speaking of totals, last 7 days has been an underpalooza in Major League Baseball. The under rate is more than 60%. As a matter of fact, 62% or so. 56 unders, 34 overs, and we've had a push along the way as well. And favorites on the money line hitting at a little bit over 57%, 50-37 on the money line. A few games were pick'ems. That's why you've got a few less favorites with regards to that instead of totals. But if you're looking overall for the season, favorites are hitting at about 56% overall, 357 and 281 on the money line, and the over rate is about 50.7%, 322 overs to 314 unders, and I believe 17 pushes along the way. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good buddies, Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
When maintaining your daily wellness rituals is important to you, the change in routine during the summer can feel daunting. Kachava's new travel packs help you stick to your daily ritual, even when you're on the go. Just 1 packet of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake provides complete nutrition with 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and much more. So you'll be fueled and ready for wherever life or your summer adventures take you. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. But you can try it for yourself because the variety pack includes all 6 delicious fan favorites: chocolate, vanilla, chai, matcha, coconut acai, and strawberry. So instead of worrying about sticking to your daily ritual, simplify it with Kachava. Go to Kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be joined by this man, as we've got Curtis Rogers aboard. He does such excellent work over at 710 Seattle Sports as the pre- and post-game host for the Seattle Mariners. Additionally, I know that he's doing an absolutely superb job looking at college basketball throughout the year. If it's happening out there in the Pacific Northwest, he's doing a great job in terms of breaking it down. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X along with Instagram at A Kid from Kent altogether. And Curtis, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Greg, always happy to hop on with you. We are just past the season's quarter marker, which feels like it's gone by in a hurry, and also it's gone by probably pretty slow for a lot of teams that are falling out of it, but lots and lots to get to around baseball, and super excited to dive into it with you.
Oh, I am as well. And Curtis, you are doing a great job looking at all things Seattle Mariners baseball. And just how do you look at the first about 7 or so weeks of the season for them? Because it feels like it's been very wobbling, and it's been a case where the pitching, aside from ironically enough, Andres Munoz has been good enough to win games, but just feels like we've seen a big offensive fallout for them thus far this season.
Yeah, and some of those bats are starting to heat up. Julio Rodriguez off to his best start in his career now. That is a low bar to clear, as he has been a guy that has very much been a second half hitter. But Josh Naylor back up near 250. Luke Raley has been their best bat this year, an OPS over 900. A big issue for them has been the health of Brendan Donovan in the lineup. He's back, had 3/4 of a cycle on Thursday, but has been still kind of in and out of the lineup as they work him back in. Durability has been an issue with him throughout his career, so kind of wondering what are they going to get out of Brendan Donovan when he is healthy and in the lineup. But yeah, there have been some big question marks, none bigger than Cal Raleigh, who snapped an 0 for 38 hitless streak, but then 2 days later found himself on the IL. Honestly, it's funny, Greg, because when you lose a bat like Cal Raleigh, you're kind of wondering, is this going to, potentially hamper the Mariners over the course of the next few weeks, because it's an oblique injury and those tend to linger. But I mean, the start that Cal Raleigh's gotten off to this year, I don't know if that's going to hold the Mariners back with his bat out of the lineup, because outside of about a 2-week stretch here, he has not really given them much of anything with the bat, and especially when you go over 38, that's not something that anybody wants to see out of any hitter, let alone presumably one of the best in the game.
Yep, exactly. And for Cal Raleigh, it has been a big giant slump for him, and does feel like some of these Seattle Mariners are starting to rise up. And how strange has it been that the Mariners have been putting up more runs at home rather than away from them? Because we've talked about this with you on this podcast for many, many years. Seattle is one of the best ballparks, if not the best ballpark in all of baseball in terms of suppressing offense, but it's really been the bats not being able to get it going on the road, which I find to be very ironic.
Yeah, the road struggles for the Mariners this year have been real. Now, they did take 3 of 4 from Houston, but they lost 2 of 3 to a White Sox team that I don't think anybody is considering them to be contenders this year. They have struggled against the Angels on the road this year. It has not been an easy go of it for the Mariners. Now, look, the Astros have been chicken soup for the baseball soul for a lot of teams this year. But if the Mariners are going to get back to where they were a year ago, and look, they're definitely not out of it in the AL West, as only the A's are above 500, and they're one game above 500. They're actually tied with the Mariners in the win column as of Thursday afternoon. So I think if the Mariners want to get back to where they were a year ago, you got to pick it up on the road. I think those are opportunities for them to get back in this thing and also kind of take command. I mean, look, with where the AL West is right now, Greg, you could have one good week and all of a sudden you're sitting atop in first place. And that's just kind of how volatile it has been in that division right now. Sure enough, I mean, the Mariners with an opportunity here, they got 6 coming up at home against the Padres and White Sox. Now, the Padres aren't bad by any stretch of the imagination. We just talked about how the White Sox beat the Mariners in a 3-game series. So there's going to be opportunities for the Mariners here to maybe take command a little bit of the AL West. But again, this Mariners team has been so hot and cold this season, mostly cold. Who knows what to expect over the course of this next week?
Yep, it certainly has been wild to see what we've gotten out of really all these American League West teams. The Rangers have had such good pitching and such bad offense. For the Athletics, anything can happen out there in that ballpark in Sacramento right now. And then, well, I feel like we know what's going to happen with the Angels. They're probably just going to lose games, as Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, is joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And I think that that's a great microcosm of things, because how do you take a look at this AL West right now? Because typically in past years, we would talk about, is it going to be the Mariners? Is it going to be the Astros? Or in some years, it's been the Texas Rangers as well. Obviously won that World Series a few years ago, but feels like the Astros are as good as done, with the pitching being absolutely awful for them. You mentioned it, the Athletics are atop the division, but I'm not a believer in them. And the Rangers, I think, have great potential with the amazing pitching that they've got, but they've got absolutely terrible offense, and the ballpark out there in Arlington might be suppressing offense even more so than Seattle this year.
Yeah, it is really hard to project the AL West right now. I still think talent will win out, and I look at the Mariners as the most talented team in that division. Did get a healthy Bryce Miller back this week. He made his 2026 debut on the road against Houston. He looked fine. He looked like kind of typical Bryce Miller. His velocity was up a little bit higher than where it had been a year ago. So that was a good sign for them. So Mariners getting a little bit of reinforcements with their starting pitching. But like you said, I think the question marks surrounding every other team in the division are so big that you can't really ignore. Whereas with the Mariners, I mean, I think the pitching is going to be fine. It's the offense that is going to be maybe a concern. But as we've seen with the Mariners for years now, their offense in the middle months of the season considerably better than what it is in the early going of the season. And I think this is just kind of more of that, especially as we're approaching Memorial Day. We're, just 2 weeks away from Memorial Day. So there's going to be much more warmer weather coming our way here in the Northwest. But like you said, I think you can write off the Angels. Playing on fire if you write off the Astros, but having seen them head-to-head against the Mariners this year and having seen the pitching that they have rolled out over the course of the season's first quarter, I think you might be able to write off the Astros. So then it just becomes a three-team race at this point. And you look at the A's, I don't know if they have the pitching to last. They certainly have the offense too, but their pitching has been pretty bad. And then the Rangers, like you said, the offense needs to get going if they want to have a shot. I think the Rangers, in my opinion, are probably the biggest threat to the Mariners right now in the AL West. But you look at the Mariners, they've got Brendan Donovan back healthy, Bryce Miller's back healthy. You have got, hopefully when Cal Raleigh comes back, he'll be healthy again. Who knows? Cole Emerson may have a factor in this season too. Their top prospect in AAA, who signed a big extension prior to the year, but has not made his big league debut. He'll be some help in the middle infield. And who knows? Kate Anderson, another big time arm in their minor league rotation, number 3 overall pick last year, has been dominant at the AA level. So those are a couple of the names to watch out for. So it feels like, for as bad as it's been for the Mariners to start this season, it does feel like the reinforcements are coming. When they get here, who knows? But it does feel like they at least have something to look forward to, whereas all these other teams in the AL West, Greg, I think what you see right now is kind of what you get with them.
Yeah, certainly with the Texas Rangers, they're the one team that I star that might have a little bit of upside if they can get any sort of offense whatsoever. But I felt like I was saying that about them last year as well. So it's been interesting to look at those teams, to say the least. And I feel like it's a microcosm of the entire American League, because I've been pointing out on my social media feed how you have like all 5 teams in the National League Central at so many wins and only 2 teams in the American League, with the Rays and the Yankees being those lone 2 teams at like 23 wins, 24 wins. You just keep going down the list. And how do you just take a look at the entirety of the American League? Because I think that the Yankees just stand alone at number 1. I think that the Rays stand alone at number 2. And then the rest of the American League is just a hodgepodge with every team not named the Angels fighting for a playoff spot.
It really is. And the teams that I'm most surprised with where they're at right now would probably be Detroit. I thought they were going to compete for an AL Central crown, especially adding Framber Valdez to that rotation. It remains to be seen how they are going to weather the Tarek Skubal injury. He is their most important player, without a doubt. Getting him back healthy, I think, would be the first thing in order for the Tigers in order to get back in the AL Central race. But it's weird because the White Sox sitting at 500, that's one of the best records in the American League. Yeah, and the Twins are right there with them, just 2 games back of the White Sox. So do I think that'll last? No, I don't think so. But you do kind of wonder, like, some of these teams that have gotten out to slow starts, specifically the Tigers, but also how about the Red Sox too at 18 and 24? You kind of wonder, like, have they given themselves too big of a hole to climb out of? I think once you get to Memorial Day, which has kind of been a line of demarcation for me, talked about a little bit earlier, I think once you get to Memorial Day, that's when you can stop saying it's still early. Like, you've got to start to get it in gear, because all of a sudden now you're talking about 50-plus games into the year. You have got to really kick it up a notch if you want to get, back into playoff contention here. I think the Rays aren't going anywhere. I think the Yankees aren't going anywhere. You look at the Central, Cleveland always happens to be atop that division. I mean, last year winning the division after being down as many games as they were to the Tigers in the American League Central, didn't win the wild card round against Detroit, but still took away the division crown. I think Tampa, New York, and Cleveland, those are 3 teams that you can count on being there probably at the season's end. But everybody else right now, big question marks all around the American League.
Yeah, with the Tampa Bay Rays, I think that they're going to be able to find a way to give themselves a nice season, even though they might not have the, and air quotes here, stars. There are probably a few guys looking at you, Junior Caminero, that should be viewed as stars that currently are not, but man, everything else has been rough. Heck, the White Sox entered in the day on Thursday at 500, so you know you're in a bizarre world when that is happening. And Curtis, is there just a team or two out there in this league? It could be American League, National League, that you think are going to be able to turn a corner. Maybe it's been a little bit of a rough season for them. Heck, maybe it's been a good start to the season. You think that they just keep it going, but just a team or two that you have your eye on and you like the way that they're playing right now.
One team I think that is heading in a better direction than they got off to, and maybe it did take a managerial change, would be the Phillies, as they are 7-3 in their last 10. Who knows what this team could look like at the season's end, but you're getting great production out of Bryce Harper. They have played really well, winning series against the Giants, against the Marlins, the A's, the Rockies. They're taking on the Red Sox. They have won a bunch of series in a row here to start the month of May. In fact, they're 10-4 in their last 14. So potentially the Phillies, a team definitely not going to go away. And look, Kyle Schwarber has been Kyle Schwarber. Bryce Harper has been Bryce Harper. Those are the guys who you need to perform day in and day out in your lineup in order for you to have a chance. And that's exactly what they're doing. It just needs to be the other guys. It needs to be the JT Realmutos. It needs to be the Alec Bohms, these guys who have their OPSs in the 500s. That's not going to get it done. Trey Turner, he hasn't gotten it done at all at any point this season. So looking at those big bats in the Phillies lineup, kind of wonder, if they are going to be able to turn it on, and also needing better performances out of guys in the rotation, Aaron Nola, Jesus Luzardo, to be specific. Those two guys have not gotten it done. Christopher Sanchez has been as advertised. He's been phenomenal for the Phillies. But, yeah, I think they really need to get some of their big names kicking it up a notch here, because that National League East, with the Braves being what they are, that's going to be a tough team to really chase down. You're probably fighting for a wild card spot at this point if you're a team not named Atlanta in the NL East.
And I'm so glad that you lead me into that as well. Do you think that it might actually be the Braves who are the team to beat in all of baseball this year rather than the Dodgers? And I ask that because they've done everything that they've done this far with Ronald Acuna Jr. either not being himself or being on the injured list. You haven't had Spencer Schwellenbach out there. Spencer Strider has only made 2 starts. I really think this year the Atlanta Braves might be the team to beat once again.
It's very possible. They've gotten tremendous production out of guys like Drake Baldwin. Matt Olson is looking like Matt Olson of 2024 rather than 2025 Matt Olson. Michael Harris has been really good. It's going to be a very competitive National League with the Braves and the Dodgers atop that league. And it's funny because the Braves last year, such a disappointing season, and you look at that roster and you're kind of like, how did this roster with all this talent miss out on the postseason? I feel like this year they're very motivated to show that last year was a fluke, last year was an aberration, that they can get the job done. I think they have a really good thing going. You do want to see guys, like you said, Ronald Acuna come back healthy and play well. Also, Austin Riley, he needs to get his back going. But other than that, I think this Braves team does not have very many weaknesses. This team is going to be there all year long. Are they more talented than the Dodgers? Probably not, just because of the sheer amount of star power that the Dodgers have. But this Braves team, a force to be reckoned with in the National League right now. I would not want to see them on my schedule coming up. They have a lot going for them right now. I think they're going to be a team that if you are not paying attention to, which I don't know how you couldn't be, they've been among the league's very best teams over the last 5 or 6 years. This year, it seems like they are playing with a lot on with a big chip on their shoulder.
Yep, no question about it. It has been great what we've seen out of the Braves this year. And hey, the Brewers are giving me something to cheer about as well. So that has been incredible. And what else is always incredible is chatting it up with you, Curtis. You're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this great game of baseball. You're locked in doing the pre and post game hosting for the Seattle Mariners, and you're covering a little bit of everything out there in the Pacific Northwest. So all the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on for us over the weekend. Padres come to town. I'll be hosting this week with Charlie Furbush, former Major League reliever. So a lot of fun talking with him. So, yeah, if you want to check that out, seattlesports.com or the Seattle Sports YouTube page, that's where you want to go to download that content. And, Greg, always happy to talk with you, happy to talk some baseball with you, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Always great to be able to get Curtis aboard. He does such an amazing job looking at this great game of baseball, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So, big thanks, Curtis, for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Beast Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
Keep your wellness routine going strong all summer. Kachava's new travel packs help you stick to your daily ritual even when you're on the go. Just one packet of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake provides complete nutrition wherever you are, with 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and more. Simplify your daily ritual. Go to kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by our guy, Curtis Rogers, who does such great work out there in the city of Seattle, doing the pre- and post-game hosting for the Mariners over at 710 Seattle Sports, covers the entire landscape of the Pacific Northwest, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So, a big thanks to Curtis for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We are going to be going in the Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, and the Interleague games, which all but 4 games are Interleague games, by the way. Those are going to be at the bottom in time order. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we get things started? This is 9:01, 9:02 on the card. It's the Phillies. They're going to be on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Braxton Ashcraft hopes to not be a load of Ashcraft for Pittsburgh, and Aaron Nola hopes to be super for the Phillies. So on this game is 8, over and under both at -110. Pirates are -130 to -135 favorites, +110 to +115 is that number on the Phillies, and I'm going to be willing to lay with Pirates. Set them at a -148. Aaron Nola just has not been great over the last few years. Last year he had a 6.01 ERA with about 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. A little bit better this year, 5.14 ERA with 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but Braxton Ashcraft is by far the better pitcher. 277 ERA, 3 fielding independent, 0.7 home runs, 9.4 strikeouts per 9 innings with a Phillies unit that they had a bit of a rain delay yesterday in Boston, and then they had to travel after that, albeit not a ton of travel, but still, that takes a little bit out of you. The Phillies have been a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation as well. You do have Trey Turner down for Wood, along with Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, who have been just not great this year. I'll give you less than a 300 on base, all hitting at 235 or less with not a ton of power. Kyle Schwarber continues to hit home runs, 17 bombs going into yesterday, not hitting for a great average, but still 360 on base. Bryce Harper, 360 on base, 8+ home runs out of him, but you're not getting a lot around these guys. And on the other end, you've got a Pirates unit that is second in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home, about like 5.6 or so runs per game at home. You've had Oneil Cruz, Brandon Lau, both get loud. They're both give you 10 home runs apiece. Cruz down to about a 325 on base, but Lau 350 on base. Ryan O'Hearn, Brian Reynolds, Spencer Horwitz, all at least a 375 on base. You could use a little bit more out of Marcell Ozuna, but hey, Colton Griffin is starting to get online for this team, and for the Pirates, it's a bullpen that has been neither here nor there. Mason Montgomery, who was the opener yesterday, has been solid, sub 350 ERA. Isaac Madsen starting to hit the toilet bowl a little bit. Justin Lawrence has had a shaky year, but he had a sub 350 ERA last season. Dennis Santana was amazing last year, and he's been more pedestrian this year at a 344, but Gregory Soto has been very solid. And for the Philadelphia Phillies. Getting back Yohan Duran is big, but that's your closer. Getting to him is going to be an adventure. Ryan Kirkering has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but Jose Alvarado is up right around about a 5. Brad Keller, a 4 ERA after a career year last year. Jonathan Bolin, Tanner Banks, these guys have not been amazing, so do think that the Pirates go out there, get the job done here. We'll end up to minus 147 on the money line, and I think that the Phillies just really continue to struggle on offense. PNC, a little bit of pitcher-friendly ballpark, so my total 7.8, like the under. 903, 904 on the card. It's the Diamondbacks on the road against the Colorado Rockies. You got Kyle Freeland on the bump for the Rockies, and Merrill Kelly goes for Arizona. Arizona, a minus 124 to a minus 130 favorite. Plus 110 is that number on Colorado. 12 is the total. Over and under, any between minus 105 to a minus 115. We'll take a shot here on the Rockies. Needed at least a plus 110 to be able to do so. For Kyle Freeland, certainly has not been a great year for him, a 6 ERA, but he's been a little bit banged up throughout the season, so I think that that's had a little bit to play with it. His strikeout stuff is actually up. He's at about 8.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, and you look at him throughout his career, because he was born and raised in the state of Colorado, he's been much better at home than a lot of these other pitchers. 489 home ERA, 427 road ERA. Typically splits are even more demonstrative out there at Coors Field, so I do think that that's going to be big. And for the Rockies, it's not like they've necessarily been amazing with their offense at home. They're 11th in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home, considering how elevated the ballpark is. You'd expect it to be a little bit better. Now, it's a case where you've had two guys really be able to slide the boom for this team. Hunter Goodman along with Mickey Moniak, double-figure amount of homers out of both of these guys. And you do have guys that are moving line. Moniak is hitting above a 300. Troy Johnson has been able to hit about a 325. Edouard Julien has been hitting above a 260. TJ Bromfield, guys like this. But outside of their main two power hitters, you haven't been able to get a lot of power. Kyle Karros has not necessarily been amazing this year. I will say, for the Rockies, they're right around about 20th in terms of opening area, which doesn't sound great, but when your home ballpark is Coors, that's actually not too bad. Likes of Victor Vodnik, Jaden Hill, Juan Mejia, Jimmy Harrogate, all had a sub-4 ERA last year. Now, Vodnik has been awful this year. He needs to get back online, and Harrogate looks like he's going to be hitting the injured list, so that's not great, but they picked up Brendan Bernardino in the offseason, 4.25 ERA out of him, and on the other end, you got a Diamondbacks unit that has been cheeky with their bullpen. I just really don't trust in Paul Sewell, but have Ryan Thompson giving you a sub-350 ERA. Juan Murillo has been able to give you about a 2 ERA. Taylor Clark, these guys have been relatively presentable, and for the Diamondbacks last year, they were a top 8 team in terms of run creation. They've been more of a middle-of-the-road team this year. Eliarmo Vargas has been great, hitting a 330 with 7 home runs. That's been huge, but he's right now leading the team in terms of home runs. The power is way down. Ketel Marte, along with Corbin Carroll, 5 home runs apiece. Carroll still give you 377 on base, but Marte just a 371 on base. You've had this team be up and down with regards to the outfield spots. Alec Thomas, he gets traded away, so now they don't have him anymore. Gabriel Moreno spent a lot of time on the injured list along with Lourdes Gurriel, so it's been wobbly there. And for Merrill Kelly, he's gotten off to just an absolutely awful start to the season, but 1 run allowed in 7 innings in his last start should be able to get him back online. 7.62 ERA thus far this season, but go back to last year, 3.52 ERA, about 1.1 home runs, 2.3 walks per 9 innings. He started out the year on the injured list, so I feel like he's getting stronger, and I do think that even though the ERAs are very high of these pitchers, I do think that this is going to be a lower scoring game. We'll take plus 110 or better on the Rockies on the money line, and like the under, somebody told 11.2, 905, 906 on the card. It's the Tigers, and they're going to be playing us to the Toronto Blue Jays. Trey Savage is on the bump for the Jays, and Ty Men goes for the Detroit Tigers. The total on this game is 8. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, minus 122 to a minus 135. Is that number on the Jays. Between plus 104 to plus 115 is that number on Detroit. And with the Blue Jays, I had to set them as a favorite, but I could only make them a small favorite here. I was willing to go up to a minus 118 here. When we get the dime lines, we should be able to get a plus 120 on Detroit, and that'll put me on their money line. If you're looking run line, by the way, you're only getting between about plus 130 to plus 140 on the Blue Jays. So in some form or capacity, going to be in on the Tigers. Should be able to get that money line when it's all said and done. For Ty Man, it's been a very small sample size for him of only 2 starts at the minor leagues. He did have some command issues, but so far so good here at the big league level. 11 innings through his 2 appearances. He has given up only 1 home run, 3 total runs allowed. When he got a shot at the big leagues a few seasons ago in 2024, was presentable with a 4.30 ERA. His strikeout stuff is up this year. He's been able to get about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, so I like what I'm seeing there. And Trey Savage looks like he's the real deal. He's not really giving you as much length as of right now because he just came off the injured list in his 3 starts, only 13 and a third innings, but the swing and miss stuff is back. 10 strikeouts at 3.4 walks per 9 innings, has yet to give up a home run this season, so like what I'm seeing there, but it is a Blue Jays bullpen that you've got a trio of guys that you can really trust in. You've got Tyler Rogers, throw in there Braden Fisher, and Louis Varland, who have been able to give you a sub-3.25 ERA, but when you get into the likes of Jeff Hoffman, Tommy Nance and company, it's just a big giant roll of the dice, and for the Blue Jays, the offense has just been so lackluster this year. Right now, they're 22nd in the league, averaging about 4.2 runs per game. That falls to about 3.75 runs per game away from home. That is a bottom 5 mark in all baseball. This despite the fact that it's a bunch of, they've legitimately done a really good job in terms of not striking out. You take a look at this team in terms of strikeouts on a per at-bat basis, and right now they are clocking in, if I'm not mistaken, still at number 1 in the big leagues, and with Vlad Guerrero Jr., he continues to give you about a 4 on base, but 2 home runs this far this season. You need a little bit more boom there. Dalton Varsho will give you like a home run every about 12 to 13 at-bats last season. That's more than doubled thus far this season, so you need more there. Kazuma Akamoto has been quite good with his power. He's been able to give you 10 home runs, and then you've got the likes of an Ernie Clement, who's able to hit about a 295, but again, no power whatsoever. You've had Jesus Sanchez move lining at 260, not providing a lot of power. The guy whose name I can't pronounce, Pinago, hopefully I got that correct, the outfielder, he's been able to give you 400 on base. I just had to call him the outfielder because it was that hard to pronounce, but that's it. He's been able to help you out a little bit, but you got Alejandro Kirk on the injury list, so that's hurt the seam. And for the Tigers, you honestly expect a little bit more power out of these guys as well. Dylan Lingler right now leading the way with 8 home runs, and you've had, again, quite a few guys are finding a way to be able to get on base. Cole Keith, Kevin McGonigal, Riley Green are all hitting at least a 290 for this team, with Green and McGonigal at least a 400 on base, but a combined 6 home runs between those two guys. Spencer Torkelson hitting just a $197, 6 home runs. You expect a little bit more there. Juancio Perez has been awful. Zach McKinstry, both of those guys hitting below the middle line of 200, but it does feel like this Tigers team is starting to figure it out with the bullpen. I know that Tyler Holden was very shaky out of the bullpen to begin the season, 4.74 ERA still, but it looks like he's improving quite a bit. Brian Herder has been amazing. He's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. They've got Will Vest on the injury list, but Birch Smith has been solid for the team. They're getting back Brendan Hennefy, so I do like the prospects there, and I do think the man goes out there, gives you a good start in a game that I think is going to be a little bit lower scoring. I did set my total here at a 7.7, so here at the 8, I do like the under, and for the Tigers, I'm seeing it right now. Plus 118 is popping up, plus 118 or better. Looking at that money line. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Rangers on the road against the Houston Astros. Spencer Arrighetti, no, not Mom Spaghetti, is on the bump for Houston, and Jack Leiter goes for the Rangers. This is a pick'em game between minus 105 to minus 110 on both sides. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 9. Under is minus 120. The over's even on the 8.5. Over is minus 115 to minus 120. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110, and I made my total at 8.8, so I do like the over with Jack Leiter. He's been able to give you some good swing and miss. The problem is you just cannot rely upon the command with him. 4.85 ERA. He's getting 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 3.8 walks, 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And for Spencer Arrighetti, you look at the raw ERA, and it has been quite good for him this far this season. A sub-2 ERA. He has yet to give up more than 2 earned runs in any of his 5 starts, but 3.66 fielding independent with 5.3 walks per 9 innings. And the reason why that's a concern is that out of 30 Major League Baseball teams, the Houston Astros are currently 30th in terms of bullpen ERA. Josh Hader being on the injury list, that has really been hurting this team. And then you just look at some of these schlubs that are coming out of the bullpen right now. They use Cody Bolton to be able to save much of the bullpen, but I mean, what good is it going to do when Steven Oker with a 3.79 ERA is probably your most trustworthy guy, along with Brian King. King is about a 3.55 or so, but I mean, Brian Abreu, Angel De Los Santos, AJ Bluebaugh, all these guys are supplying you with an ERA above a 4.15. You just have not been able to get any long relief whatsoever out of pretty much any of these guys aside from Kai Wei Tang, who they used him up a few days ago. It's been just a struggle in general, but the Astros are still a top 10 team in terms of run creation, albeit it hasn't been as good since Carlos Correa hit the injury list, but Yordan Alvarez, 14 bombs, over 425 on base. Jose Altuve is looking a little bit long in the tooth, only 3 home runs, but I mean, he, Christian Walker, both give between about a 325 to a 345 on base. Walker is able to supply you with 10 home runs. Bryce Matthews is giving you power, but he's only hitting about a 200. Cam Smith, you need him to be able to pick it up with regards to his average as well. And then on the other end, the Texas Rangers been a bottom 5 team in the big leagues in terms of run creation, but the good news is they've been much better away from him rather than at home. Arlington is just absolutely suppressing offense. They're averaging less than 2.9 runs per game at home, a more respectable 4.5 runs per game away from home. I think that speaks to the ballpark factors that you've got, but Corey Seager's in something like an 0 for 28 slump or something. He's hitting a $179. He does have 7 home runs along Jake Berger, but both guys are below below at 290 on base. Brandon Nimmo's been solid. He's been hitting at 280. Josh Young is hitting above 300. Ezekiel Duran moving the line. So you've got some guys that are able to get on base, but man, not having Berger and Seager being able to get on is an issue. I will say this about the Rangers, though. They are numero uno in terms of bullpen rate. Recognize that Jacob Latz had a little bit of an issue in that series against the Arizona Diamondbacks, but you've got Gavin Collier, Jalen Beeks, Tyler Alexander, a whole bunch of guys give you a sub-325 ERA. Robert Garcia hit the injury list, but the team has still been fine. But like I said, I just really don't trust in Leiter, and I do think that the Astros win a little bit of a higher scoring game. Set the Astros at a -113, well, it'll up to -112 there, and do like the 8.5 to the over. Semi-total at an 8.8. 9-9, 9-10 on the card. It's the Orioles. They're going to be on the road against the Nationals as Zach Littell is on the bump for the Nats, and the Wizard of Oz, Shane Baz, is on the bump for the Orioles. And with the Orioles, they are between -134 to -145 favorites, and between +116 to +122 is that number on Washington with a total of 9. Over is -115, and the under is -105. I do like the over here. I set my total at 9.3. Now, do not be surprised if the Washington Nationals go with a little bit of an opener, because for Zach Littell, man, it has been a tumultuous ride for him, and they've utilized an opener from each of his last 2 appearances, and in 7 2/3 innings, coming in behind an opener, he's only given up 3 total runs and 1 home run, which is big, because right now he's got a 6.94 ERA with 3.5 home runs and 4.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, 8.25 ERA. Holy crud, he has been really bad. And then on the flip side for Shane Baz, I do feel like he's been better than the 5.48 ERA would indicate, but man, it's been a shaky season for him. He's got closer to a 4.20 fielding dependent. Only giving up 1 home run per 9 innings, but strikeout stuff is down, 7.7 strikeouts, 3.9 walks per 9 innings. Recognize that you've got an Orioles team that's been a little bit all over the place in terms of their offense. They have not been the same team when they've been away from home rather than at home, but Zach Littell has been a really, really good, shall we say, offensive starter for a lot of these teams. And for the Orioles, you do have Gunnar Henderson, who's been able to supply 9 home runs, but man, it's one of these cases where he's not getting on base right now. 253 on base, you need a little bit more there. Same goes for Pete Alonso, 8 home runs. He's only hitting about a 220 though. Jeremiah Jackson had a really hot, shall we say, late April, early May. He has cooled down. He's only giving you now about a 260 on base. Taylor Ward, after he had 30 plus bombs with the Angels last year, 426 on base, but only 1 home run, but you will take that. And then you've had Adley Rushman be able to bounce back this season, but some of these young guys like Cole Causer or Tyler O'Neill hitting below $180, you're going to need a bit more there. Same goes for Coby Mayo. And for the Nationals, this team is actually second in the big leagues in terms of run creation. This despite the fact that they're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of batting average and on-base plus slugging against right-handed pitching. They've really been mashing lefties. CJ Abrams, James Wood, these have been the main 2 guys to carry the mail for the team. Combined 21 home runs, both give you over a 380 on base. And then you've got Dallin Lyle, a couple with Brady House, give you 6 home runs apiece. House not giving you much in terms of on base at a 280, but Dallin Lyle hitting about a 265. You are going to need more of these guys to get on base, so for this to be sustainable, Keibert Ruiz, Asim Nunez, Curtis Mead, Drew Milas, I mean, these are all guys that are hitting below a 225 with really not a lot of power. And for the Nationals, bullpen has been less than savory, to say the least. They're back in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of opening rate, even though you've had Brad Lord be a really good long guy for the team, a sub-325 ERA. PJ Poulin has been relatively solid as well, but Mitchell Parker, Gus Varland, over a 450 ERA. Whenever they've trotted out their Ciano Perez, he's been terrible. Zach Kent is a guy that they kick the tires on. He's a guy that's now posting up an ERA that's hovering right around a 6, so and it's not amazing. And for the Orioles, even with Ryan Helsley on the injury list, they've got the far better bullpen. Rico Garcia, Yanier Cano, don't you know? These guys have been able to give you a sub-250 ERA. Tyler Wells has been presentable out of the bullpen. Anthony Nunez, not amazing, but like a 4 ERA. That's passable. So with the Orioles, I did have to set them as more of a mid-tier favorite here. I set them on the money line at a -126. If you're looking at laying a run half with them, you're only getting about +114 to a +120. I do think that the Nationals are going to be able to slug their way to be able to stay within this game. So I did set this at a +126 or higher with the Nationals, and I do think that when we get the dime lines, because right now I'm seeing 125s pop up, we should be able to get there. So +127 or better, which I fully anticipate getting. Going to be looking at the Nationals on the money line. I like the over, so my total 9.3, 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Marlins. They're going to be on the road against the Rays. Jesse Scholtens is on the bump for the Rays, and Jansen Junk hopes to not live up to his name for the Miami Marlins, and the Fish are a slim underdog. They're between -105 to +104, -112 to -120. Then around Tampa Bay, 8 is the total. Under is -115 to -120. Over is even to -105, and I do like the over. I set my total at an 8.1. With Jansen Junk, he does a really good job in terms of not beating himself. He's really not a strikeout guy. Really, neither of these guys. Both of these guys hovering in that neighbor, about 6.7 to 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Scholtens a 3.29 ERA. Jansen Junk a 3.25 ERA. With Junk 0.8 home runs, 2 walks allowed per 9 innings, so he's done a solid job there. For Scholtens, more like 1.3 3 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but he is facing off against a Marlins team that's about 16th in terms of run creation. They're about league average there, but they don't really generate a lot of power. They're a bottom 5 team in terms of home runs on a per-at-bat basis. You do have to love the fact that you've had Liam X be incredible for this team. Right now, 9 home runs. He's sitting just below a 300, and then you do have Otto Lopez, Xavier Edwards, who are both hitting at 310 or greater whenever he's been out there. You've had Javier Sanja do a nice job moving the line, but you've had Owen Casey, Esteri Ruiz, Christopher Morel, Jacob Marcy, all hit for less than a 225 for the team. Really, none of these guys are giving you much on base. Now, Marcy does a great job in swiping bags, and to the credit of the Marlins, this is a top 12 team in terms of opening area. You've had Anthony Bender have a little bit of an up and down season, but now you're getting back Pete Fairbanks off the injury list. Calvin Fauché, after a rough start to the season, he's back down to a 3 ERA, so you like to see that. John King has been the king of being able to give you a sub 3 ERA, and after a shaky start to the season for the Rays in terms of their bullpen, the former Orioles, Cole Souls or Brian Baker, being able to give you a sub 3.35 ERA has been big. Garrett Clevenger is coming off the injury list, and he's been looking solid. Hunter Biggie's been able to give you some good innings as well, and this Rays team is in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, with Junior Caminero supplying 11 home runs, about a 340 on base. Andy Diaz continues to give you a 375 on base. Jonathan Aranda, 380 on base, 8 home runs. And the positions that have been of concern the last few years, like the catcher spot, you've got Nick Fortes along with Fiducia. I can't say the name, but that said, these guys have been able to hit above a 250. Jake Fraley has been able to give you a little bit of something, and they're doing this with Cedric Mullins being completely useless in this lineup as well. So I do think that the Rays do go out there, get the job done. I like what I've seen out of Schulten, so 8 or less going to be in on the over, and for the Rays, set them at a minus 145, like their money line. 913, 914 on the card. It's the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road, facing off against the Cleveland Guardians, as Tanner Bybee is going to be on the bump for Cleveland, and you've got Mr. Andrew Abbott going for Cincinnati. The total on this game between 7.5 to 8. On the 7.5, over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 8, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. With the Guardians are between minus 125 to minus 135 favorites, and between plus 105 to plus 120 is that number on Cincinnati, and I do like the Guardians here. Set them at a minus 134 for Tanner Bybee. He has had some very demonstrative home and road splits this season. Overall, not great, not terrible. 4.17 ERA, about a 4.35 field lead dependent, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but you'll look at what he's doing at home. 1.63 ERA, 0.65 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Away from him, 8.15 ERA over 2.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And Andrew Abbott just has not been sharp this year. 4.47 ERA. He's only giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings, but 6.4 strikeouts, 3.9 walks per 9 innings. And as we know, this is a Guardians team that's really not going to be living and dying with the deep ball. And for the Cleveland Guardians, they are going to need more of their, shall we say, star players to be able to pick it up. Stephen Kwan hitting below 225. Jose Ramirez hitting below 225. Rhys Hoskins not doing anything whatsoever. That's been an issue, but you've seen the ancillary guys actually be pretty solid. Chase Salauter hasn't really hit a home run since the first week or two of the season, but still 375 on base out of him. Ano Martinez is up to 7 home runs. Daniel Sheeman is giving you a 355 on base. Brian Rocchio's moving the line. Austin Hedges is actually hitting, so that's been a surprise. And for the Guardians, they do have the leg up in terms of the bullpen. For the Reds, through the first 4 weeks of the season, they were number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA. They're now outside the top 20 there, and the Guardians, they were struggling a little bit towards the beginning part of the season with their ERA, but last year they were 3rd in terms of bullpen ERA. They're back into the top 13 now with Cade Smith after a rough start to the season, being able to get back down to a sub-4 ERA. You've been able to have Eric Zabrowski, Tim Herron, along with Colin Holderman, all give you a sub-2 ERA. They've been picking it up, and Hunter Gaddis hasn't been himself since coming off the injury list, but feels like he's starting around in a format for the Cincinnati Reds. I honestly think that it's a good thing that Emilio Pagan's on the injury list, because I do not trust that guy whatsoever. And you still have had Graham Ashcraft do a solid job being able to give you a sub-250 ERA. I still trust in Sam Moll, guys like this, but it really has toilet bowled with a lot of these longer guys as well. Connor Phillips is now up to over a 4 ERA, so you've had some issues there. Pierce Johnson about a 371. And for the Reds, it just feels like they're hoping and praying that Ellie De La Cruz and Sal Stewart do something. Both of these guys have given you 10 home runs apiece. Sal Stewart down to about 330 on base. De La Cruz continues to give you 360 on base. And we'll say you've had Spencer Steer pick it up quite a bit. 7 bombs, 260 average. Nathaniel Lowe has been able to do a solid job as well. But you have a lot of schlubs in this lineup right now. TJ Friedel, Tyler Stevenson, Cabrian Hayes, Will Benson, all these guys hitting a $195 or less. pretty much any mix and match guy has been awful for this team. So I do think that Tanner Bybee goes out there, gets the job done. Somebody total at a 7.7. Personally, between a 7.5 to an 8, I would rather have a 7.5 over rather than an 8 under, and I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 133 on this Guardians money line. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. Battle of New York. The Yankees are on the road against the Mets as Clay Holmes goes for the Metropolitans. Cam Schlittler is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees are between minus 140 to minus 150 favorites, between plus 120 to plus 125. Then around the Mets, 7 to 7.5 is the total. On the 7 overs, minus 120. The under is even. On the 7.5, under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I do like the Yankees here. Don't want to go run line, but I'm willing to go money line as I did set a low total here of a 7.4. Now, between a 7 to a 7.5, personally, I would rather go 7.5 under rather than a 7 to the over, mainly because for the Mets, entering into yesterday, and they had a nice little bit of an outburst with their offense yesterday. Just 3.6 runs per game, second lowest in all of baseball. Cam Schlittler has just been that good this season. How about a 135 ERA, 164 fielding dependent, 1 home run allowed in 53 and a third innings, 10 strikeouts, a 1.5 walks per 9 innings. He is doing it all. And for Clay Holmes, he's been pretty superb as well, 186 ERA. Now the 344 fielding dependent is a bit of concern. He does give up right around about 3 walks per 9 innings, and not a strikeout artist. He only gets about 6.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. The much bigger concern, though, is that the Mets lineup, man, it's not great. Other than Juan Soto has been able to give you about a 360 on base. And MJ Melendez, when he's been out there, he's been relatively solid as well. You can get 250. These were the lone 2 guys, other than AJ Ewing, who's seen less than 30 at-bats right now, that have been hitting for above a 242 that are seeing consistent at-bats right now, and the lone 2 guys above a 300 with regards to their on base, like Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, Brett Beatty. You just see more out of these guys. Mark Vientos has been okay. He's been able to give you 6 home runs, hitting about a 242. And for the Mets, other than Devin Williams, the bullpen has been relatively okay. Luke Weaver saw an ERA above a 4, but it feels like it's starting to round back into form. And then you've got like guys like Austin Warren, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley, who have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA, but the Yankees, they themselves are a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I recognize that Camilo Duvall has been absolutely awful in this bullpen, but you know what? You've had these guys like David Bernard, Ben Hedrick, Tim Hill, who have been able to give you sub-325 ERA. Fernando Cruz has been solid as well. And for the Yankees, this continues to be a top 6 team in terms of run creation. Obviously, they have been a much better offensive team at home rather than away from home, and you've got a little bit of all or nothing in this lineup. Giancarlo Stanton going down with injury. That's hurt the team, but Aaron Judge, 16 bombs with about a 400 on base, and Ben Rice, 13 home runs, above a 400 on base. That's been solid. You just need more of these infielders, along with Trent Grisham. Trent Grisham has been absolutely awful this season, but the entirety of the catcher spot, throwing there Ryan McMahon, Jazz Chisholm, these guys hitting at 205 or lower, that's been a little bit of an issue. Jose Calabrillo has been relatively okay, but do think that the Yankees do just enough to be able to get the job done here. Don't want that run line, but I'm willing to lay up to minus 153 on the money line, and do like the 7.5 to the under, somebody told 7.4. 9:17, 9:18 on the card. It is the Red Sox. They are going to be on the road against the Atlanta Braves. Spencer Strider goes for the Braves, and Connolly Early is on the bump for the Red Sox, and Red Sox right now find themselves as about plus 120 to plus 125 underdogs, minus 140 to minus 150 is that number on the Braves with a total of 8.5. Under is minus 120, and the over is even, and I do like the over in this case. I did set my total at an 8.8. Now, Spencer Strider looked much more like himself in his last start. Goes up against the LA Dodgers, 6 shutout innings, gives up just 1 hit against them. That's a Spencer Strider that we all know and love. I believe he had 8 strikeouts in that game as well after a little bit of shakiness in his first start, but first start was also at Coors Field, so very forgivable there. And Connolly Early has been solid here for the Boston Red Sox. Right now he's supplying a 3.16 ERA, but for one, he goes up against an Atlanta Braves team that's numero uno in all of baseball, averaging about 5.6 runs per game this season. And for 2, you do look at the fielding independent numbers, and that's a little bit concerning, as for Early, 3.8 walks per 9 innings. He's got a 435 fielding dependent, and for the Red Sox, they are dealing with a little bit of, shall we say, later travel because they had the rain delay yesterday in their game against Philadelphia Phillies. And for the Red Sox, they're just simply not hitting. They're a bottom 5 team in terms of run creation. This should go northward. They were last year a top 7 team in terms of run creation. Recognize that Roman Anthony is currently on the injury list, and just had a lot of guys in general in the infield. Caleb Durbin, Trevor Story being the main 2 that just have not been able to hit for this team the entirety. The catcher spot is rough. Going to the outfield, you've had Jaron Duran be a massive disappointment for the team, but Wilson Contreras, 370 on base, 8+ home runs. Tyler Abreu is wild out. He's hitting well above a 300 for the team, so that's been solid. And the Red Sox still have a pretty good bullpen. I recognize that Greg Weissert has an ERA that's above a 5. You've got Danny Klum on the injured list, but now that you're getting back Justin Slayton after he was banged up to begin the season, or Aroldis Chapman, Chapman has been one of the best closers in all of baseball over the last few seasons, but for the Atlanta Braves, this is an even better bullpen. Tyler Kinley, since he comes over from the Rockies, has been able to give you a sub-3.25 ERA. Dylan Lee supplying a sub-2 ERA. Racio Iglesias has been amazing at the closer's role after last year. It was not so great for him, and then you bring in Robert Suarez as well. Right now, for the Red Sox, fourth in terms of bullpen ERA, the Braves are number 3, but with the Braves, they're doing all this even with Ronald Acuna Jr. being on the shelf. You've had Matt Olson be on pace for about 50 home runs this far this season with a 370 on base. Drake Baldwin, 375 on base. He's been able to give you 8+ home runs. Albies, hitting over 285, 7+ home runs. Michael Harris is sitting above 300. Dom Smith is sitting like a 350. You've got so many guys that are doing an amazing job in this lineup, and for the Boston Red Sox, I just don't think that they're going to be able to hang. So I'm willing to take the Braves here on the money line. I set them at a -174 and like that 8.5 to the over. So my total at an 8.8, 919, 920 on the card. It is the Cubs. They are going to be on the road against the White Sox. Sean Burke is on the bump for the Southsiders, and Edward Cabrera is on the bump for the Cubs. The Cubs do find themselves as a mid-tier favorite here, as you're going to be finding them anywhere between -140 to -150, anywhere between +120 to +130 is that number on the White Sox. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. The over and the under are both at -110. On the 8.5, under is -125, over is +105. Made the Cubs a -146 favorite, so I'm going to be willing to lay up to a -145 with them. Edward Cabrera has actually been down with his swing and miss stuff, but for Cabrera, the big issue that he has had throughout his career has always been the walks, and he's been able to do a better job in terms of command this year. He's got a 3.88 ERA, but down to 2.9 walks per 9 innings. That's career best for him. The swing and miss stuff starting to come back a little bit. 8.4 strikeouts per 9 innings at his previous start. He did give up 5 runs, but had 6 punch-outs in 5 innings, and he has had 5+ strikeouts in now each out of his last 4 starts. So I do think that that's an encouraging sign for him going against a White Sox team that certainly has been able to hit the deep ball. They're a top 10 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. They are still a bottom 7 team in terms of their batting average. Montaka Murakami has been absolutely amazing with 15+ home runs, give you about a 360 on base, but still not necessarily doing the world's greatest job in terms of just hitting for singles and doubles. You've obviously got Colson Montgomery giving you some good power as well. He's up to 10 home runs, but another guy that's hitting below 235. You need more out of the catcher spot as a whole. Luan Acuna, Andrew Benintendi, these guys hitting a 230 or lower, not really supplying a lot of power is an issue. Jarek Kelenic has actually given you something, so that's been solid, and Chase Meadroth has been one of those guys that has been able to reach base. Throw in there Miguel Vargas as well with about a 370 or so on base. Meanwhile, for the Chicago Cubs, this has been a top 7 team in terms of run creation, neutralized a little bit over the last week or so, and we have seen some of these guys fall back to earth, like Ian Happ continues to give you 8 home runs at a 370 on base, but he's only hitting a 230 as well. Matt Shaw, along with Seiya Suzuki, Nico Horner, these are guys hitting right around about a 255 to 270, and Horner's been able to give you a little bit more power, not just home runs, but more doubles than you've seen in the past as well. Pete Armstrong seems like he's starting to pick it up, but he, Miguel Amaya, Michael Busch are all hitting below a 240, and they really haven't been able to get a lot of power either. And for the Cubs, I do think a big issue for this team is certainly that bullpen, just with all the injuries. Not that it's a bad bullpen, but when you've got Riley Martin, Porter Hodge, Hunter Harvey, Caleb Theobar, all of these guys on the shelf, it really makes things difficult. As Hobie Milner, sub-3 ERA thus far, Jacob Webb has been solid, Daniel Palencia, and Phil Matone has not been, but on the flip side for the Chicago White Sox, still a bottom 10 team with regards to their bullpen ERA as well. You just have not been able to get much of anything whatsoever out of some of the, shall we say, veteran guys. Jordan Hicks, he's been okay for this team. When you've got Seranthony Dominguez as your closer, that's a rough place to be. Brian Hudson has been very good for this team, by the way. Right now, he is supplying a sub-125 ERA. Grant Taylor, he's been solid, but Trevor Richards, you don't know what you're going to be able to get there. And for Sean Burke, he's gotten off to a relatively nice start to the season. Right now, he is supplying the team with a ERA of a 368, but you do have to have a little bit of fear that there might be a bit of a fall off with only getting about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has been able to do a much better job in terms of keeping things out in front of him. Lines here, 4.2 walks per 9 innings, down to about 2 walks per 9 innings this season, so it's an interesting circumstance. I did set my total at an 8.3, so here at an 8, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. That's really the less juicy of the two, and I'd rather have an 8 over rather than an 8.5 under personally. And for the Cubs, I'm going to be willing to lay up to a -145 on the money line. 921, 922 on the card. It's the Brewers. They're going to be on the road against the Minnesota Twins. We do know that Joe Ryan is going to be on the bump for the Twins. As of right now, it is listed as to be determined for the Milwaukee Brewers, and that is the reason why this game is presently off the board. Now, looking at everything that we're seeing, it seems as though Chad Patrick is going to be getting the start for the Brewers, which means that it's probably going to be a little bit of a piecemeal game for the Brewers. And if you do indeed get Chad Patrick Patrick. I did set the Brewers out to -104 on the money line, so if I'm able to get even money or better, I'm going to be willing to take a stab there. I would need at least +105 to take a shot on the Twins, and I did set a total here of a 8.1, so an 8 or less. I do like the over, an 8.5 or higher to the under. Now for the Brewers, it's been a bottom 3 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, but that said, it's a team that continues to be in the top 8 in terms of run creation. They just find a way to move the line. It's absolutely amazing. And now you've got Jackson Trio back. You're getting back Christian Yelich. You're getting back Andrew Vaughn. All these guys that were your main power hitters from a season ago. So it's a team that I think is going to be getting better and better. Bryce Terang continues to give you a 400 plus on base. Gary Sanchez, he's only hitting like a 200, but I mean, he's been able to give you 5 plus home runs. He's giving you about a 350 on base. Garrett Mitchell's moving line for the team. Sal Frelick hasn't even gotten going quite yet. And for the Brewers, it has been a little bit of an up and down bullpen. Abner Uribe, along Trevor McGill, supplying an ERA above a 4 has been an issue, but Grant Anderson, DL Hall, Aaron Ashby, these guys have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Shane Drone has been able to give you some nice innings as well, and I would not doubt it if Chad Patrick and Drone piggyback here. Now, if you do get Logan Henderson, which there were a few rumors of that, I'd be setting the Brewers more around about a -120, so I'll clean that up there, and then that would go from a 7.5 or less to the over, an 8 or higher to the under, rather than the 8 or less to the over, 8.5 or higher to the under that I've got right now. And on the flip side, you've got a guy in Joe Ryan who's been always relatively solid at home. When he's away from home for his career, he gives up over 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, close to about 1.1, 1.2 at home. And for Ryan, 3.43 ERA, but he's pitched better than this. 3.04 fielding dependent. He's only given up 0.6 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings this season. But even if he goes out there and gives you a good start, how do you have any faith whatsoever in this Minnesota Twins bullpen? Out of the 30 MLB teams right now, they are checking in terms of bullpen ERA at a nice hearty 29th. Like, you've got Cody Funderburk who's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. That's been great. But you look at Yandres Gomez, Luis Garcia, Taylor Rogers, Anthony Banda, Justin Topa, Eric Orze, just a whole bunch of slubs give you over a 3.50 ERA. You've got Cody Boyerson still on the injury list, and for the Twins, it's been a solid lineup for them. Now, Byron Buxton is dealing with a little bit of ailment, and that's really going to be a little bit rough for them. Apparently, he's day-to-day. I think he goes in this series, though, personally. And Austin Martin has been hitting above a 300. Brooks Lee has been able to give you better something, 5 home runs, over 325 on base, but Royce Lewis has been about as useful as a poopy-flavored lollipop this year. Cody Clemens, Matt Wallner, 20-plus home runs last season. These guys are just on moving the line this season. Ryan Jefferson's giving you about a 4 on base, so that's been solid. So I do think that you get some offense here. And again, I think that Drone and Chad Patrick might be piggybacking off of one another, because with Patrick, they threw him out of the bullpen over the last few, shall we say, appearances, so he's not built to be given this team 5-plus innings on the drop of a hat, but still, he's been able to give you a 3.06 ERA. He's only getting about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but just a half home run per 9 innings. So 8 or less like the over, 8.5 or higher the under. And with the Twins, need at least a +105 to take a shot on them against Patrick, -103 or better looking at the Brewers. And then if it's Logan Henderson, more like a -120 with the Brewers, and then 7.5 or less to the over, 8 or higher to the under. 923, 924 on the card. It's the Royals. They're going to be on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Dustin May hopes that it's May Day for the Royals, and Mr. Michael Waka, and if he has a bad start, it's the dying Pac-Man voice of Michael Waka 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 Waka. Goes for the Royals. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 9. Under is -120, and the over is even on the 8.5 over and under, both at -110. And for the Cardinals, they are between -110 to -115 favorites, anywhere between even money to -108. That number on the Royals, and I'm willing to go up to -115 on the Cardinals on the money line. For Dustin May, I recognize that the 4.85 ERA is not great. If you dig in deeper, though, he has looked much better than this. So the fielding dependent is more around to 3.81, and he has been really on it recently. 3 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 5 starts. 4 of those starts with 2 earned runs or fewer. After a very shaky start to the season, he's rounding into form. And then you've got Mr. Michael Waka, who's just been a consummate pro for this Royals team. He's giving you a 2.63 ERA, about 3 walks, 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. So the fielding dependent is about a point higher than the ERA. But overall, he's given this team a chance to win. Now for the Royals, it's a bullpen that's currently in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. You've been able to get a little bit more out of Matt Strahm recently, but Carlos Estevez being on the under list has just really killed this team. Alex Lang is posting up about a 6 ERA. John Schreiber's been okay, about a 3.71 ERA, and I like what I've seen of Daniel Lynch, but overall, the likes of Steven Cruz and company have just not stepped up. And for the Royals, they entered in yesterday averaging 3.05 runs per game away from them. Dead sinking last in all baseball. Now, Bobby Witt Jr., 7 home runs over the last 28 days. He's hitting a 300. He's not the problem here. And you've got guys that are moving the line, like Kyle Isbell has been able to hit about a 265. You've got the former Milwaukee Brewer and Isaac Collins giving you about a 350 on base. Miguel Garcia, 350 on base. But Vinny Pasquantino, along with Salvador Perez, combining for 11 home runs, and neither guy giving you over 290 on base. is just absolutely destroying this team right now. Michael Massey has not been able to pan out as well. And then on the other end, you've got a St. Louis Cardinals lineup that is in the top 10 in terms of run creation. They pulled the game out of the fire yesterday against the Athletics. Jordan Walker has been your main man. He's been able to supply 11 and now 12 home runs with the home run yesterday, and he's been any darn near 300. You have a few guys that aren't necessarily like hitting for great average, but they're finding way on base, like JJ Weatherall, hitting 245, but he gives you 7 plus home runs, 360 or so on base. Ivan Herrera, about a 390 on base. You've been able to get a bit of something out of Jose Fermin, Alec Burleson. These guys are hitting above a 320 with regards to the on base. So, like what these guys are doing for the Cardinals, it's been a shaky bullpen of their own. They're in the bottom 8 in terms of bullpen ERAs. Matt Savanson, Ryan Stanek are both supplying over a 6 ERA. Just don't really have faith in George Soriano's up to a 350 ERA, but still not a guy that I really have a lot of faith in. Riley O'Brien has been a little bit shaky recently as well, but for the Royals, they're just generating no offense away from home. So I'm going to lay up to minus 115 on the Cardinals on the money line, and like the under, somebody told 7.9, 925, 926 on the card. It's the Angels, and they are going to be playing against the LA Dodgers. We do know that for the Halos, it is going to be Jack Kachanowicz. Right now, it's a little to be determined for the LA Dodgers. They were probably going to determine that after their game on Thursday. So this is a game that's totally off the board. You could get either Blake Snell or Justin Robelski. And if you get Robelski, I'd be willing to go up to minus 120 on the Dodgers on the run line. Then 9 or less looking at the over 9.5 or higher, the under. If you get Blake Snell, probably looking at the Dodgers being more around about a minus 145 or so on the run line. And then 8.5 or less looking at the over 9 or higher to the under. Do keep in mind that Blake Snell did not look like himself in the first start of the season. So the difference between he and Robelski, I actually think is a little bit smaller than a lot of people would think. For Snell, he got pressed into action a little bit earlier than expected. Now, the team that lit him up is the Atlanta Braves. So there's that. And for Robelski, if you do get him, the ERA has actually been superb. 2.42 ERA. They had him just weird in that series against the Atlanta Braves, by the way, where they had him throw 8 innings in that started. He gave up 7 runs. That was wild to say the least. And he's only getting 4.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, but doing a good job in terms of reducing soft power, with only giving up about 0.4 home runs per 9 innings. But you do take a look at what the LA Angels are doing at home, and they're just not producing any offense whatsoever. They're currently 27th in the big leagues with about 3.4 runs per game. Only the Red Sox and the Texas Rangers are scoring fewer runs per game at home than the LA Angels. And Mike Trout has been fine. He's been able to give you double-figure amount of homers, over a 4 on base. Joe Adele, he's been doing a much better job in terms of getting on base this season, hitting at 270. He's had tons of home run robberies. He's had 6 home runs himself. But Zach Neto, like 2 home runs over the last 30 days. He's down to hitting about a 225. Ori Soler, after a nice start to the season, he's starting to toilet bowl. Josh Lowe, along with Yohan Moncada, these are veterans that are not cutting it, hitting below the Mendoza line of 200 for the LA Dodgers. They're averaging about 6 runs per game away from home, entered into yesterday, averaging fewer than 4.5 runs per game at home. So, they have been much more at home on the road. You've got Max Muncy giving you 11 bombs. He's been able to provide a solid 365 on base. You've been able to have Shohei Ohtani, even though he struggled with only 7 home runs at a 240 average, he's still giving you a 370 on base. Freddie Freeman, Kyle Tucker, Andy Paez. These are guys that aren't necessarily giving you what you expect, but they're still at a 350 on base, and you got an Angels team that's still in the bottom 5 in terms of bullpen here. Like, my goodness gracious. Not a lot of guys are really stepping up for this team. I will say Chase Silseth has found a nice home out there in the bullpen. He's been able to give you a sub-4 ERA. Ryan Zephyrian hasn't been completely awful, but he's still giving you an ERA that's well above a 4 as well. But then you look at these guys like a Taylor Saucedo, Drew Pomeranz. They, I think, just got rid of Jordan Romano. Kirby Yates has just come off the injured list. Sean Anderson. All these guys are posting up an above 5.5 ERA. They're banged up with regards to rotation. And Jack Kachanowicz, he's actually been halfway decent thus far this season. If you look at the ERA itself at a 3.97, this is doing for so much regression that it's not even funny, because he's not getting any swings and misses whatsoever for Kachanowicz. He still gives up quite a few walks as well. 6 strikeouts, 4.6 walks per 9 innings. So fielding independent is above a 4, even with only giving up 0.4 home runs per 9 innings. So if you get Robelski against Kachanowicz, 9 or less to the over, 9.5 or higher to the under. Snell, it's more like 8.5 or less to the over, 9 or higher to the under. And for the Dodgers, with Robelski, willing to go up to minus 122 on the run line, more like a minus 150 or so with Snell. And if you get Robelski against Kachanowicz, we need at least plus 188 to take a shot on the Angels on the money line. Probably looking at closer to about a plus 235 or so with Blake Snell, subject to a little bit of change because the Dodgers very much left us in the dark on this one. 927, 928 on the card. It's the Padres. They are going to be on the road against the Mariners as Emerson Hancock is on the bump for the Mariners and Randy Vasquez goes for the Padres. Padres do find themselves as an underdog anywhere between plus 118 to a plus 125 and between minus 140 to minus 145. Then around Seattle, 7.5 to 8 is the total. On the 8, under is minus 120. The over is even on the 7.5. Under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105. The 8 is a pretty rogue one from FanDuel, and I did set my total at 7.2, so even on the 7.5, I'm still in on the under here. Randy Vasquez has really been able to turn over a new leaf this year, and same goes for Emerson Hancock. These were two guys that prior to the season I did not think were very trustworthy starters. Hancock has really been a nice revelation here for the Mariners. Talked about the Seattle Mariners in the flip side with our good friend Curtis Rogers. Now, Hancock has given up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, but down to 1.7 walks, 9.4 punch-outs per 9 innings, so he's been pretty superb with that regard, and Emerson Hancock, just like so many of these Seattle Mariners pitchers, has some pretty demonstrative home and road splits. You look at what Hancock has done on the road. He's given up a 3.65 ERA, 5 home runs allowed in 24 and 2/3 innings. Meanwhile, at home, he's given up 3 home runs in 23 innings with a 2.74 ERA. Meanwhile, for Randy Vasquez, he last year was getting fewer than 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's elevated to about 8.5 strikeouts at 2.6 walks per 9 innings, 3.05 ERA, 3.40 fielding dependent. And for the Padres, this continues to be one of the best bullpens in all of baseball. Jason Adam, along with Mason Miller, are both supplying a sub-2 ERA. Now you're getting Yuki Matsui off the injured list, has yet to allow an earned run this season, though. They burnt him up yesterday. He was used for over 25 pitches, but they also used up Matt Waldron. So that means that like Salvador Morejon, Jeremiah Estrada, who have struggled to over a 4 ERA, they're going to be available in this game. So Padres should be relatively solid there. But for the Padres, it's also a lineup that over their last 26 games, they have generated now 104 runs. So they have really toiled well. And that was with a series out there in Mexico City in there as well. Xander Bogaerts has been your best hitter thus far. 7 bombs, about a 330 on base. Fernando Tatis Jr. continues to give you 0 home runs. Ramon Laureano, Jackson Merrill, Manny Machado, all hitting a 220 or lower. I'll give you 6 home runs or fewer. Jake Cronenworth, he's been a little bit banged up, and when he's been out there, he's been completely useless. Freddie Fermin has been completely useless. You've got a guy, Nick Castellanos, who looks like a shell of himself. All these guys are hitting a 200 or lower. Miguel Andujar moves the line, but that's about it. And then on the flip side for the Seattle Mariners, Cal Raleigh being on the injured list, as we talked about with Curtis Rogers, might not be the world's worst thing with the way that he's been playing this year. Luke Raley's up to 10 home runs. He's been able to about a 270. Julio Rodriguez, 325 on base, 7 home runs after a slow start. He's starting to get it going. Josh Naylor, he's back to looking a little bit more like Josh Naylor. He's been much better recently. Randy Arozarena hitting for 300 with 11 stolen bags. Not a ton of power, but he's doing a solid job there. And Andres Munoz has not been himself as the closer of the Seattle Mariners, but the ancillary guys have been able to step up. Now, part of the issue for this team is that now you've got Jose Ferrer along with Matt Brash currently on the injured list, but that said, Cooper Criswell, Edward Bazardo, these are guys who give you a sub 235 ERA. Even with all the injuries, they've been able to mix and match. Some of these guys probably want to be avoiding Alex Hoppe. He's been providing over a 6 ERA, but bullpen has been relatively solid for the Mariners. I think that Emerson Hancock does give you a good start. So I did set my total here at a 7.2. I like the under with the Mariners. I set them at a minus 139 on the money line, so we'll go up to a minus 138 there. Wrap things up with 929, 930 on the card. It's the Giants who are going to be on the road against the Athletics. We do know that Aaron Savali is going to be on the bump for the Athletics. It is currently old to be determined on the bump for the Giants. This is a game that is currently off the board. All indications are Tyler Mahle is going to get the start, and if it is Mahle against Savali, I set the Athletics to where I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 147 on the money line. I would need at least a plus 149 to take a shot on the Giants, and then set a total of 9.2, where a 9 or less, I'm in on the over, 9.5 or higher, the under. I don't know if Aaron Savali can quite keep this up, but it's been a really nice start to the season for him, and for Aaron Savali, he's not necessarily a guy that's going to go out there, light the world on fire with regards to strikeouts, but he's done a much better job in terms of command this far this season, as he's only giving up about 2.8 walks, 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, go along with the 7.1 strikeouts per 9. So 259 ERA, 378 fielding dependent, especially in that Sacramento ballpark. I think that goes northward, but like what I've seen there. And then for Tyler Mahle, last year he was amazing for the Rangers, 218 ERA. He was only giving up about a half home run per 9 innings. 1.7 home runs, 4.3 walks allowed per 9 innings here with San Francisco thus far this season, so that is very much foilable. I do think that he's starting to round into a little bit of better form. 0 earned runs allowed in 2 out of his last 4 starts. Now, the other 2, he gave up 4 and 5 respectively, so you've either gotten really good Tyler Mahle or you've gotten really bad Tyler Mahle. And for the Athletics, it has been a unit that has been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. They're getting about 5 runs per game at home, and getting back Zach Geloff is big. He and Jeff McNeil both hitting about a 272, 276, throwing their Nick Kurtz Kurtz as well. And Kurtz over a 400 on base. Power starting to come back from Shea Langoliers. O'Shea is banged for a 400 on base with a double-figure amount of homers. Brent Rooker, rough start to the season. He was on the injured list. He's been able to give the team 3 home runs over the last 10 days, so looks like he's coming back into form as well. And you've got Henry Bolte, who they called up, and he's looked pretty solid in the first few games. So like that, and Carlos Cortez from out of nowhere sitting above 300 as well. For the Athletics, as you saw yesterday, the bullpen not very reliable, but you still have a few okay pieces, even though Joe Kunal and Jack Perkins have had a little bit of rough go of it the last few days. These two guys, Scott Barlow, Justin Sterner, providing a sub-425 ERA. Hogan Harris has been able to give you a sub-275, so these guys are solid. And for the San Francisco Giants, they continue to be in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERAs. I really like what I've seen out of these guys. You've got Yopi Guerrero coming off the injured list, Matt Gage, Caleb Killian, Keaton Wynn, who have all been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. The bane of the existence of the Giants right now is that out of 30 teams, they're 30th in terms of run creation. Casey Schmidt is your biggest power bat. 6 home runs, 340 on base, hitting a 285. He's been fine. And you do have guys that are moving line for the team. Eloy Ramos and Jungo Lee out there in the outfield, when they're not doing the vibration celebration, we're going to call it that, they're hitting at least a 265 apiece. So you've had them be pretty solid. Harrison Bader has been absolutely useless, but he seems to be rounding into form a little bit more. They get rid of Patrick Bailey, but they really didn't need him, in my opinion. But even though Rafael Devers has had like 3 home runs over the last 10 days, he and Willie Adames are just stealing money right now. A combined 8 home runs between these two guys. Both guys hitting for less than a 300 on base. You just need more there. Matt Chapman, 307 on base. He's got one more home run than Greg Peterson. Luis Ariz hitting at 300, so that's a little bit of an issue. So with the Athletics, we'll end up minus 147 on the money line, plus 149 or better. Looking at the Giants, and then 9 or less, like the over 9.5 or higher, the under, and that'll wrap things up for the Friday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to our guy, Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way, that is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast, give you guys picks and analysis on every game every day. So I'll be back with you guys once again tomorrow. Thank you.
When maintaining your daily wellness rituals is important to you, the change in routine during the summer can feel daunting. Kachava's new travel packs help you stick to your daily ritual, even when you're on the go. Just 1 packet of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake provides complete nutrition with 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and much more. So you'll be fueled and ready for wherever life or your summer adventures take you. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. But you can try it for yourself because the Variety Pack includes all 6 delicious fan favorites: chocolate, vanilla, chai, matcha, coconut acai, and strawberry. So instead of worrying about sticking to your daily ritual, simplify it with Kachava. Go to Kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.